Welcome everybody to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Hey, what's up, class? This is the Chancellor Bernard Gleaton. Now, I just want to take a quick minute just to stop by and let you guys know that you need to subscribe, rate, comment, and share so that everyone who wants to become an entrepreneur or who wants to level up as an entrepreneur can get this lesson. Also, make sure that you jump on my email list and my Facebook group for exclusive content. Come on and mix and mingle with my community with other entrepreneurs and create something great. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the classroom and see what our next lesson is with our new guest professor. I will see you guys in the classroom. Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. I am your Chancellor, Bernard Gleaton, and this is the School of the Hard Knocks. And I want to welcome you guys to the classroom. We have a excellent guest professor that's coming in today. As you can see, I am wearing the Genesis Project Podcast t-shirt that will be made available to you guys very soon. I'm going to be having a contest for you guys to get a free t-shirt, and stick to it, because you guys are going to be able to figure out how you're going to be able to get your t-shirt and all that type of stuff a good time later. So without further ado, let me bring it to the classroom, your new guest professor for today, Guest Professor Joey Chandler. Guest Professor, say what's up to the class.
Oh, good morning. And gosh, I want a t-shirt. Man, I'm like, I want a t-shirt. That's such a great idea. Props for that.
Hey, it's all good. My wife made this, so I'm employing my wife.
I'm sure she's going to be, she'll be expecting payment in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, without a doubt. I have no, without a doubt. We'll just stick to that. So I want to welcome you to the classroom. I appreciate you for accepting my invite, for coming in here. We have a mutual friend. He was also a guest professor of the show, Guest Professor Paul Zellizer, which was a awesome, amazing episode, amazing lesson that he taught in class. If you have not heard that episode, you want to go back and check out his episode, because it was amazing. So with that being said, I want you to go ahead and tell the class a little bit about yourself, and just give us a quick bio on you.
Yeah, I thank you so much. And Paul, is his Awarepreneurs podcast too is amazing for extra study work for everybody in the class. So I'm Joey Chandler. I am a business coach and a life coach, essentially. I help people do a few things. One, I help them figure out their purpose, who they are and what they're about and who they want to serve. But my main focus really is helping people niche down their business. I really promote the idea that niching down your service and really getting to the point of who you can serve is really a form of self-care. And given, all the stresses that we have these days, the virus, the politics, everything that's going on, I think self-care is super critical. And when you niche down your business, you can not only take better care of your people, but you can also take better care of yourselves. So I'm a coach. I live in Northern California. I have a son. I'm a skier. And yeah, I think that's about me.
I think that's amazing work that you're doing. We had a chance to chat just for a brief moment before I hit the record button. And I gotta say, I'm really intrigued about the lesson that you are going to be bringing forth to the classroom. And I'm just excited to get into it. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Awesome sauce. So the first question out of the gate that I'd like to ask all of my guest professors is, What is your Genesis moment? And to you, class, if this is your first time ever seeing this show, ever hearing the show, let me explain to you what the Genesis moment is. The Genesis moment is when you come to a fork in the road of your life, and you could go right or you could go left. It don't have to be good, don't have to be bad, but you can see what your life could be like beyond those first steps. So that is the Genesis moment. Example of a Genesis moment is me starting the show. That's a Genesis moment. Another Genesis moment is me getting married to my wife. Another Genesis moment is me trying out for the CFL, 4 years move from high school and never playing it down in college. So, guest professor Joey Chandler, what is your Genesis moment?
Oh, that's so interesting, because you forgot to mention that never played it down in college when we were talking. I played some. Oh, that's an interesting story. So my Genesis moment, I'm actually going to talk about one that just recently happened, and I think this is interesting because so many of us are pivoting and changing and switching things up, given the complications of the virus and the changes to economy and all that Genesis moments doesn't have to be like something that happened a long time ago. It could be stuff that happened right now. And This happened to me about 6 weeks ago.
Okay, that was super recent.
Super recent. Completely has altered where I'm going in my life and my business. And basically what was happening was that you know what? This is going to be aired long as this will be out there. About 6 weeks ago, my wife and I decided to separate.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we've been married about almost 18, 19 years. We weren't happy, and we couldn't see how to get to happiness together. We both want to be happy, and right now we're trying to figure out, are we going to be happy together or happy separate? And we're working that out, but we decided to move apart. And as part of that process, it was really got the thought around it, or the homework that I got from our therapist was really focusing on what's important to me. Like, what is it that's important to me? What am I going to stand for? And to not collapse, to not give up on a dream that I had. Because what the evidence showed in our relationship was that I had dreams and goals, but I would give up on them and sort of blame my wife for why they couldn't happen. And obviously that's not healthy in a relationship or even in life.
Right.
And the moment where this really started to alter is that I realized that I grew up outside of Lake Tahoe, California. It's a ski resort town. And about 25 years ago, I moved down to the Bay Area. I lived here. For the most part, I loved it, but I always had this idea of I want to go back to the mountains and I want to have a bigger impact on the mountains. But I was like, I can't do it. I have my wife and my family, all these excuses and reasons why I couldn't do it. But out of our therapy, I started to see wow, I actually really love the mountains. I really love I want to have a bigger presence in the mountains. And of course, with COVID, it's complicated in a million different ways, but I still I got very clear, that's important to me. And so I'm a niching coach, and this, I have a process to help people really identify who it is that they want to serve. And I had gone through my niching process, and I had ended up on people in financial industries, financial planners, CPAs, accountants, those sorts of things. And I can absolutely help them out. I've taken people through the program. They love it. It's great. But when I did this work, especially in the context of what was going through with my wife, I said, you know what? I want to serve skiers and snowboarders. So about 6 weeks ago, I said, you know what? My niche is going to be business owners who ski and snowboard, which sounds really funny now, 6 weeks later, and it sounded really funny then. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm going to go after skiers and snowboarders. And since that day, I started a group. It's called Snow and Sales. It's a networking group for business owners who ski and snowboard. And since that day, it's been 36 days since I started that group. We now have over 140 people in the group. I've made contacts with 400 people on LinkedIn. I've made contact with gold medal Olympic skiers, pro snowboarders. In 6 weeks, I'm having conversations with people in the ski and the snowboarding community, and people who love skiing and snowboarding. Maybe even not even professional athletes, but professionals who also love skiing and snowboarding at a level that I just have never honestly I've never achieved. And in all in 6 weeks. And then this morning, I woke up to a note on LinkedIn, which, I woke up and I'm not supposed to look at my phone right when I get up, but I did. And I looked at it, and there's this note from this guy who yesterday had done this really great post on how cheesy LinkedIn marketing is. When people say, "Hey, I just happened to find you," what that means is automated system sent you a note. Like you just talked about how impersonal LinkedIn marketing has become. I read that yesterday, and I sent him a note it was like 4:00 in the morning. I sent him a note. I walked him. I basically did my script. I have a script that I use now.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up, we were setting up for calls. We have this amazing thing. He posted today. He's like, yesterday I wrote about all the cheesiness, and this guy, Joey Chandler, is doing it right. He is doing LinkedIn marketing in a way that makes sense. It's personal. And of the 20 something responses or 20 something emails that I got over the last couple of days asking for my business, he's the guy that I responded to. And the cool part, that's the third person this week who have said some version of, "I love the way you're marketing on LinkedIn." So it wasn't like a total surprise. I mean, it was awesome. It was totally awesome.
Yeah.
But it was like, this is the way that I'm doing marketing on LinkedIn is producing this type of result on a fairly regular basis.
Right.
And it's all based on knowing a few things. It's knowing who you are, knowing your purpose, knowing what you want to create, knowing your niche, who you want to serve, how you serve them, and then making simple invites.
Right. That's a great way of segueing to my next question. But before I get to that next question, I want to make sure unpack some of that for a brief moment. So you're currently, or you just decided, you and your wife, to split up. You pretty much figured out what niche you want to go after with snowboarding and skiing and business owners. And within the past few days, you were able to make so many contacts and have you a Facebook group that started from 0 to 140 in a matter of literally weeks. And man, I gotta say, that is amazing work that you're doing right now. And it's such a relief to hear where you are right now in this vulnerable space, and you're still trying to kill it. And I gotta say, brother, you are definitely killing it right now.
Oh, thank you. And here's the part that's even, this is, thank you. I'm like shocked. I wake up and one of my goals, have you ever skied? Are you a skier or snowboard at all?
No, but that is on my bucket list.
Okay. There's this thing called the powder day. It's where you wake up and there's like fresh snow.
Yeah.
You get like 2 feet or 3 feet. And it's when you wake up on one of those days, it's like you're just giddy. You're like, you're just like, you're grabbing your food, you're grabbing your gear, you're running, it's just this sense of like joy. And you're trying to get to the mountain first, so you get first tracks, because when there's no other skiers on the mountain, it's just more fun. And a year ago, I said, I want to wake up for moments like that. I want to wake up giddy like that. And I started this thing called the Powder Day Posse. And I didn't have it in me to make it happen. I didn't have the skill set. I didn't have the mindset. I didn't have the systems in place to make it happen. And Facebook reminded me of that just this week. Those the remind. 1 year ago you said this. Yeah. 1 year ago, I want to create this thing called the Powder Day Posse, and I was like, but I didn't have it. And now I have this group, 140 people. And the even more amazing part is this weekend on Saturday, I drove home and it was raining. It was dark. The leaves have fallen. So, the leaves are all on the ground. So it just kind of looked dirt, just kind of that dirty sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was in a bad place. I was bummed. I was going back to my little apartment. I had just seen my son and I didn't know if we'll be ex-wife, but, my wife, and I just was feeling bad. And I knew I should call somebody. I knew I should get in touch with anybody, but I just didn't want to. Mm-hmm. So what I did was that I picked up LinkedIn and I typed in skiing, which is what I do now to find people who might be interested in my group. And I typed in skiing and I started to look through some people and I started to go down. And I found a couple of people and I was like, oh, they sound really great. They're cool. Oh, I can maybe help them. They love the group. Or I started to see, oh, they might be able to help someone out in the group, or someone else be able to. I just started to make these connections, and I made some contacts. And while I was sitting in my car, which my vision is like every sad, the lonely, sad guy who drives home in a movie, that scene. That's how I felt it looked like. I don't know if it did, but that's how I felt it looked like. And in that moment, I'm doing my basically marketing, my lead generation. And I feel myself getting more excited. I feel myself and a couple people respond back in that time. And nobody joined my group in that time, but they responded back. And I get out of the car and I felt that the weight of that moment started to lift up. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I didn't walk away like jumping around. I'm not saying that. But my lead generation process allowed me to kind of get past, honestly, a really tough time, a really dark moment. There's a very specific, just a feeling bad sort of moment. And that blew my mind. Like, I was like, holy cow, that just happened. Whether or not any of those people signed up, and I actually don't even remember, but I had a moment where my marketing empowered me and energized me. And that had never happened before. Marketing usually bummed me out because I was like, oh, all these people telling me no.
Are you tired of spending hours trying to create a sales funnel that actually converts the sales? Well, say goodbye to the headaches and hello to Drop Funnels. Their platform makes it easy to create professional, high-converted sales funnels with just a few clicks. And the best part, it's so intuitive, even a 3-year-old could use it. Not that we recommend you getting a 3-year-old to run your business. So why wait? Give Drop Funnels a try and watch your sales soar to new heights. Check it out at our resources page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
Yeah. I definitely could agree with you on that sentiment, but I find that now that I have something purposeful, right? Is even when I get people to say no, it's all right, because now I'm not looking for that yes or that no. I mean, obviously the yes would be amazing, right? But whatever answer they give me is not affecting me in a emotional or ego type of matter. This is purposeful, right? So with that being said, I want you to tell me, how important is it for you as an entrepreneur or a business owner for you to have some type of purpose?
Well, I'm going to say we all have a purpose.
Right.
You have a purpose. I've worked with a few thousand people now, and most people have a purpose somewhere based around love, joy, happiness, excitement, or freedom. That's what we're creating. And the way I define purpose is a little bit different than other people. I define purpose as that we all have something at our core, like who we are. It's love, joy, happiness, excitement, or freedom are the 5 big ones. There's some other ones, but those are the main ones. And our purpose in life is to experience and share that thing. We're born, whether that comes from a spirit, a soul, an energy, any of that kind of stuff, I don't know. And that thing is there. It's inside of us. Like your purpose, your purpose showed up in your football. Your purpose showed up in your marriage. Your purpose showed up in whatever you're doing before the Genesis podcast. It was there. Now, maybe you weren't clear on it. Maybe it wasn't being expressed fully, but it was there in some way, shape, or form. So we all have a purpose. Nobody starts a business that is not a reflection of their purpose.
Right.
The question is what is your purpose? Are you about love, joy, happiness, excitement, and freedom? What does that mean to you? And how is your business a reflection of that? And what I find is when you get clear on that, a couple of things happen. One, you start to be able to say, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. So you have more confidence. You have clarity on how you do things. These are the steps that I take to move you forward. And then you can start to speak with greater conviction Like, I'm sure when you started the Genesis Project, you were like, hey, do you want to come on this podcast thing I'm doing? Like and now you're like, hey, here's my podcast. Here are the questions. Here's how you need to be prepared. Like you have more conviction now in what your message and how you do it. And you've improved the consistency. You put in systems in place so that you can deliver a high quality product with consistency. So your purpose, we all have a purpose. The question is, are you clear on it? Can you express it and live it with conviction? And do you have the systems in place for consistency?
That's amazing. You kind of caught me in the middle of typing up another of another question here. But I wanted to ask, how can you get clear on that purpose?
Yeah, it takes two questions. Your purpose is already here.
Yeah.
And the reason I know this is what another Genesis moment of mine was. I was doing videos for people, tribute videos.
Mm-hmm.
These are videos like, if you want to do a video for your wife, we get 30 or 40 or 50 of her best friends and people to say, wife is amazing and brilliant and beautiful and a great friend. And they send in a video clip.
Mm-hmm.
All those video clips, put them together, and you show it at a birthday party or an anniversary, or maybe for somebody a little bit older, retirement, something of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
I did a few hundred of those videos. And somewhere along the way, I started to see that there's always a theme in the video. The person's about love or joy or happiness or excitement or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't loud. It wasn't overt. It wasn't like everybody said the exact same thing. But after doing as many of those, because I spent literally years just looking at these videos, I was able to pick up get a sense of it. And then I started reading the books, Understanding Your Why, and everybody's talking about purpose. And it dawned on me like, oh, that purpose that I'm seeing in that video, that theme that I'm seeing in that video, that's that person's purpose. That's who they are. It's how they interact with people. It drives their actions. And it's not intentional. These were just everyday people, but it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me excited because I've been involved in coaching for 20 something years, either as a coach or being coached. And I've done videos for people from 7 to 90 all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant to me that we all have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 2016, 17, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the next couple of years, basically working on a process to bring this thing that's already there. Because I know I can do a video for anybody. There's nobody that I can meet that if I get 30 or 40 or 50 of their best people saying what they love and appreciate about a person, that theme isn't going to show up. So everybody has a purpose. So it's already there. So we just have to pull it from the background to the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we do that, it takes two questions. The first question is when you interact with people, how do you want them to feel? And most people will answer something like safe, heard, comfortable, inspired, something of that sort. And then, and listeners, you can do this along. It's totally there. And then you want to think of that moment. You want to think of when you feel those things. So, well, can I ask you those questions?
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. If you're a coach or expert or soon to be coach and or expert, the Chancellor is granting you a chance to get a free client getting authority website. You heard me correctly, free. Get a professional design where there's no code, no tech, it's easy to update, and it's crafted to convert. You'll probably wonder what's the catch, right? Well, there is none. Our sponsor, Drop Funnels, want to make sure that you get off to an amazing start by creating and giving you a free website. Do you want a free website? Sure you do. Go to genesisprojectpodcast.com/free funnel, and I will see you guys in the hallways.
Sure.
when you feel, and just an example, we didn't talk about this, listeners. This is on the spot here. When you interact with people, how do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel validated. I want them to feel like they're being heard.
So they feel comfortable, validated, and heard.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now our purpose, like I said, has been with us for a long time. Maybe it's part of a spirit, soul, energy. I don't know those answers, but it's there when we were young. So when you think of the feeling, when you feel comfortable, when you feel validated, when you feel heard, when you feel those moments, and I want you to think about one of those times when you feel that way, and then how would you describe that feeling, that experience in language you would have used when you were 10, 11, or 12?
Okay, I speak on a validated feeling. The way that I felt that I was being validated was being that person expressing something like, I've never thought about it like that, or that is a solid point that you're making, something of that nature.
Okay. So hold on one second. We're gonna twist that a little bit. And
Okay.
I'm putting the class. I'm putting the chancellor on the spot here. So I hope you, because what we do is we think purpose is often intellectual, and I want to get to your heart and your gut.
Okay.
When
Okay.
you feel validated, like right now, when someone validates you, and you're like, oh, I have that feeling, and you feel safe and you feel heard. That feeling. How would you describe that feeling in language you would have used when you were young?
I'm getting that warm, tingly feeling. My heart swells up. You know what I mean?
And what's that is, and how would you describe that in language that you would have used when you were young?
I feel good.
Right. So when you feel good, how do you describe that feeling?
Happy.
Yeah.
Put a smile on my face. You know what I mean?
So hold on a second. Would you say you're about people being happy?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for listeners, if you're watching the video, you can see he gets like very certain, and you get to the smile. Like there's no question.
Yeah.
How is football about you creating happiness for yourself and others?
Football, for example, getting the first down, hearing the crowd, hearing the team, yes, we got that first down, and hearing the crowd cheer and all that stuff for us getting that first down, for example.
Yeah. And how is the Genesis Project a reflection of being happy, of creating happiness for yourself and others?
Being opened up mentally and being opened up in the mental capacity where I'm able to see different perspectives and having this front row seat of actually implementing it into my own life as well, and knowing that the feeling that I'm getting, I'm able to give that same feeling to the listeners, to the classroom, and anybody who come across this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can go throughout your whole life. There'll be places where you have experienced happiness for yourself and others. You made that happen. And there's a bunch of places where you haven't.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you're not perfect.
Yeah.
And the idea, and you can start to hear some of the things about, because happiness is a big, broad word. And if we were to do a little bit more work, we would define what happiness actually means to you. But just some things that I hear, obviously success, achievement is part of happiness for you. Learning and growth is part of happiness for you. I'm guessing like sharing and community and connection is part of happiness for you. So we do a little bit more work and we identify those 5 things. I use 5 things, I call them your purpose pillars. There are 5 things about what happiness or joy or love means to you, because they all mean different things to different people, and you want to get clear on what it means to you.
I would, man, that's amazing. I definitely, you've opened up my perspective on that with just that simple example. You definitely opened up my perspective on that. So I think that's another perfect segue into my next question. You've talked earlier about niching and everything. I want to make sure I really hit this home for you. First, let's ask the question: what is a niche? For those of you in the classroom, what is a niche?
So I simply define it as the people that you serve.
Okay.
And I want your niche to be people that you can serve well, that you have the skills and the abilities and everything to really take care of them. And they're the people that they'll serve you back. That in you doing that, they will feed you financially, soulfully. Like my example of me having that group that I could lean on in a very difficult time in my life. That's a niche that I can give myself fully to, because I'm pretty confident that they get me, that I can be my full self. Now I know I can help them. I can help them with their niche, their purpose, their marketing, and I can help them a lot as business owners. And that's why they're coming to me. They're not coming to me because they're like, oh, Joey, I'm here to help Joey. They're not doing that. But in my selection of the niche and me choosing the niche, I've chosen a niche that I know that I can help really well, and that will in return feed me financially, soulfully, and all those things. So
Right.
that's how I define the niche.
Okay. Now that we've covered that basis, I want you to answer, how important is niching as an entrepreneur or business owner? Because a lot of us just think, okay, well, I'm just going to put out this business and it's just going to happen, right? And we have this broad and general idea of what we want to do, what we want to sell, and things of that nature, the services that we offer and things of that nature. But how important is niching when it comes to being an entrepreneur or a business owner?
Are you tired of drowning in a sea of receipts and invoices? Well, it's QuickBooks to the rescue. Their accounting software is like a life raft for small business owners. It helps you stay organized, track your finances, and helps you make smart business decisions. Plus, it's so easy to use, even a sloth can learn it. Not that we're calling you slow, but sloths are notoriously chill. So why wait? Give QuickBooks a try and start selling smoothly through the world of business. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
I think it's huge. And I'm actually going to start, though, with how important is niching as a person.
Okay,
let's do that. Because I'm guessing most of your people are solo entrepreneurs, or at the very least, they're people.
Yeah.
And this is what I've discovered, is that the more that you can niche and you can be a part of that group that you can serve and that can serve you well, that it has to go both ways. It allows you to just be yourself. It allows you to be fully expressed. It allows you to be vulnerable. It allows your confidence to go up because you're part of your people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've been on teams where you're like, these are my people.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been on teams where you're like, these are not my people. And you can do the exact same plays. They just produce different results.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a person, and especially nowadays when there's so much stress, there's so much concern and worry and just weight out there. If you can focus on serving a particular group of people and you can do that well, you wake up and you know where to find them. You know exactly how to find them, either on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or however it is that you find them. You know what they need. You know what they want. You know their fears, their worries, their doubts. You are more valuable to them because if let's just say I'm a financial planner and I'm the financial planner for chiropractics, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
If I work with people, people in chiropractic offices, if I work with them over and over and over again, I'm just going to know more about that industry. So the next person that I'm going to talk to, I'm bringing this whole body of knowledge and experience and work that is going to make it just faster for that person.
Right.
Valuable.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. So I think it's really critical. I think I talk to a lot of people and many people are just way too wide in their niche. And for that is that it's coming from a place of scarcity. Like, I think now you're like, hey, if people say yes or no to me to be on my podcast, you probably don't stress too much because you're like, look, and you're saying congratulations on this. You're like, look, I'm into season 4 right now.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't need anybody to say yes. I'm booked for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're recording this in December. This is going to come out whenever it does. But you're like, look, you say no to me. That's cool. I got literally hundreds of other people that's going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
So your sense of abundance is just through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
That probably wasn't the case when you first got started.
No, it definitely wasn't.
You're like, oh man, but the main part here is that for most of us, we only need 50 to 100 clients.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that many to really, we all want to change the world. We all want to make millions. We all want to do, all that. But to get to the next level of your business, most people only need 50 to 100 clients. And so you can niche way down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could be the financial advisor for the Detroit Lions. So I'm from Detroit. So I'm going to go, if all you did was take care of the financial needs of Detroit Lions fans, you'd have more business than you could take care of in a lifetime.
Right.
If you're like, I only want to take care of the people, it just doesn't matter. There's so many people, you only need 50 to 100. And when you start to niche down, you then get to a point where you're like, I only need this many, and there's all these people. You can come from a place of abundance. So more freedom.
I think you've definitely hit on something in class. Just in case you missed that tiny golden nugget, he's saying that you only really need just a 50, just anywhere between 30, 40, 50 clients to really get you to that next level or get you to a level. We'll start with that. We'll start with the foundational A level, the first level, just 30, 40, 50 clients, and one of my, one of the people I've really studied and really grown to be fond of when it comes to podcasting is John Lee Dumas. He says the niches or the richest is in the niches. You want to go down miles deep, but inch wide. And that is a perfect idea of, just niching in general, and I love the fact that you said, yeah, I want to be a coach to just skiers and snowboarders, but skiers and snowboarders who are also business owners, entrepreneurs, and that opened up so many doors. And I think that's a testament to how you grew your group and how you've done so much in such a short amount of time there.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the niche is probably too big. Like I probably could do skiers who love Lake Tahoe or skiers in Colorado. Like there's enough there. Like but the thing to point out, and many people have said niches or the riches are in the niches. But the one thing I really want to bring to that message that I think is a little bit different is that niching is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Much more of a mindset game than it is a business game.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this because of all the purpose work that I've done, because there's this very common experience, and you'll probably experience this too when we get done with this podcast. When someone figures out their purpose, like happiness, love, joy, you get this excitement, this feeling, this like, oh, I can do this, this, and this, and there's this level of confidence and all sorts of good feelings. Right. Then what happens is you get done with a call, or the person goes out in their life, and then the fears and the doubts and the worries and the I'm not good enough, and I could never go out and talk about happiness. That's just weird, and all that stuff comes up. And what has to happen is that you have to put in systems in place and habits and routines to do what I call build up your purpose muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact is that we all have far more experience being who we think we should be rather than who we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to practice, you're going to go out and say, like, I don't know if I can talk about people being happy. That sounds funny. Like, you're going to have to practice it. It's true who you are. It is who you are, but you got to practice. And niching is the same way. When someone says, I want to be, let's see here, what was one? Yeah, I had one, a CPA who wanted to be for CPA for people who want to travel.
Okay.
For travel, which is awesome. I mean, it's huge. It's, again, too big. Probably could do people that want to travel to Italy would be enough.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible market. And honestly, I go back and I talk to people all the time. They get totally fired up, totally excited. But what happens is the fears and the doubts and the worries come into place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if you want a niche, you want to figure out who you are. You got to get clear on who you are. Because I'm about people being free. Skiing is where I feel absolutely the most freedom. So that's the connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of my niche. I'm of my niche rather than just me serving my niche.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you figure out who you are, then you can think about what is it that you want to create. I have a vision for my business of what I want to create. Will serving the skiing, the snow, and then when I go out to look at my niche, how can those people help serve my vision?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this connection, there's this back and forth. If you only think about, okay, I talked to one young man out of college, and him and his buddy were doing some social media stuff. And he said, we're going after wedding photographers. We're going to create marketing for wedding photographers. And I was like, cool. So tell me about your wedding photography experience. And he's like, well, I don't have any. I just know that that's a market.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm a wedding photographer because I actually have been a wedding photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to hire you because you don't have a clue. I'm going to have to spend all this time telling you about my business so then you can then market my business. Like, why would I take all that time to do that if I just go do it myself? But the thing is him, his partner, and him and his two partners were all wrestlers. They're wrestlers in college. And I was like, I never even knew the wrestling market, but think about it. How many wrestlers are there that need social media help with their
Yeah.
more business than and you could just hear it. And I honestly don't know if he did it or not, but you could hear it in his voice. He's like, oh, and this and this. And there's all these metaphors on wrestling about how it, you can totally geek out on it. So I forget where I was going and all that. So I got a little lost. The whole idea is that the more clear you are on who you are, it's a mental thing.
Right.
Niching is not just saying I'm going after a niche. It takes some mental work and it's a mindset game.
Right. The fact that you brought up the whole niche mindset, I was wondering if we could dig into that a little bit more and talk about how we could actually create that mindset, because I would imagine that whether it worked for that person or not, the idea of going from his original idea to the wrestling, it's like mind blowing, right? So how can we create that type of mindset? Because even as you spoke that story, I'm thinking like, man, maybe I'm not niching down, far enough. You know what I mean? So how can we create that mindset?
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. Now listen, maybe you started your business and you just hired employees. That's awesome. But now you gotta run payroll. Now you have to have somebody to do HR. Well, guess what? I teamed up with this company named Gusto, who became a sponsor of the show, and they offering you a free trial. Okay, so what Gusto do is they are an all-in-one platform. That means they take care of your full service payroll. They will take care of your employees' medical, dental, and vision. You have a certified HR expert. You have a time tracking tool to keep track of your employees' times. You even offer your employees finance tools to help them with their own personal finances. Listen, if you're running a business that has to run payroll for your employees, why not go for the Gusto? Go for the Gusto right now by taking advantage of their trial period by going to genesisprojectpodcast.com/Gusto. And I will see you guys in a hallway.
Well, so there's two general ways that people go after niche. The first way is like who do you serve,
Right.
and who do you love to serve, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I find that that's okay, but since most of the people that we have served are of what we thought our niche should be, or kind of this broad thing, we end up trying to find people that we like. Like for me, when I went after the financial planners, it was like, oh, I had good experience with financial planners. And so I'll go after that. It's kind of like, I know I can do it, so I'll go after it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that works. But what I've started to ask now, and again, this is a little bit of a result of the time that we're in with COVID, because I figure people don't need to be reminded of their problems. Like I'm pretty clear that I know my problems. I'm sure you know yours. Like you don't need people pointing out your problems and digging into them, kind of the traditional sales way. So what I started asking people is what do you love and what do you want to do more of?
Right. Okay. I think that's all great tips, man.
Because that thing's not going to change. Like I don't care what business I am in, I'm still going to love skiing.
Yeah.
That kid still love wrestling. I'll ask you, what do you love and what do you want to do more of?
Right. If I could play, so I'm a huge fan of TV shows or TV movies and things of that nature, right? So this is a reference to a TV show, Married with Children. Al Bundy, there's an episode where Al Bundy said he would sell his soul to the devil if he could go play football again. And he actually did that. And, he went on and started playing football again at his old age and was killing it. And then I think it was something like the Super Bowl, and the devil came back and said, yeah, I want to take all of this back. And, he's old again, his old strength, his slow speed and all that stuff. And obviously he just got slaughtered, right? I'm not saying that I would sell my soul to play football, but, I would really give anything to play football again. And it's not that I cannot play football. I just want to do it in a high competitive football, right?
Are you tired of dealing with messy spreadsheets and disorganized customer data? Well, say goodbye to the chaos and hello to ConvertKit CRM. Their platform is like a trusty sidekick for your business, helping you manage your customer relationships with ease. Plus, it's so user-friendly, even a clown can use it. No offense to the clowns out there. So, why wait? Try ConvertKit CRM today and watch your customer management skills go from the circus to top notch. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
And we haven't talked about this. What's your business besides podcasting?
So besides podcasting, I have a media company that I put the podcast under.
Okay.
And the media company offers branding and marketing, where I do websites, and ironically enough, I set up podcast tours for people who are just getting new, who just starting their businesses and things of that nature. This is a way for them to market themselves by jumping on podcasts.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I've realized, by me interviewing other people and bringing them on as guests and me jumping on other people's shows, we all after the same thing. Guests. So if I provide that, it would be amazing.
So what if you were the podcast creating team or the media team for people who played football in college?
Okay.
Or pro players, like people, for pro athletes.
Okay. That's not, and again, that's why I said earlier that has me thinking, well, maybe I'm just not niching down, far enough,
But let me ask you this. So you want to go play football back in competitive, and I understand that. I want to go back and ski race. And I want to go throw the 50-foot airs, but I hate that,
yeah.
This is not, what is something that you love to do that you can do right now that you just love doing?
This whole podcasting thing, being able to be creative, the website making, things like that, This is a way for me to actually get my creativity out.
So you could be the podcast coach for pro athletes.
Okay, I am making a note of that.
And you go out and you start to find, like, okay, and in pro athletes is probably too big. You could do football, basketball, whatever sport you want. But then you start to find out who are the people that are related, who are the pro athletes that because I'm sure you know a few.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, hey, do you want to do a podcast? I'm starting a business around, I'm the podcast coach for pro athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do a podcast? And they'll say, no, but so-and-so does.
Right.
Or, or whatever, how, or do you have whatever, you're the media coach or whatever that is for people who love, or, for retired athletes. Like there's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You want to, the podcast coach for people who, podcast coach for people who wish they could play football but can't. like that audience there, millions of guys. Like many guys would be like, oh man. And then you can have your networking event be like a flag football game in your town.
Yeah.
Like we're my coaching experience, we're all going out and playing flag football. We're gonna have, when COVID, post COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
But you could create a whole event around that. And then you just because like I said, you need 30, 40, 50 clients. There's way more than 50. Think of how many guys never even made it to the CFL.
Yeah.
Many guys never even made it to college, but just would love to have that sense, that Al Bundy moment. In high school, I threw the 4 touchdowns, and just want to be able to talk about that and to be fully themselves and not have to hide the fact that, I know I'm old and I'm fat and I'm bald, but man, I love that one moment. I want to talk about that and have a place I can do that. You could create a whole network of people designed around that. And then then even more like out of the box thinking, you start to go, okay, I'm going to create a business networking group for people who want to play football but can't. And you then find all the CPAs, the financial planners, the lawyers, the real estate guys, the carpenters, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
and you say, this is what our group is. It's for guys that used to play football, and we want to, but we can't. And we do a networking group, and you have a meeting once a week, just like a BNI or just like any networking group, and you refer business back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a place where you can talk about football, talk about the glory days with just great abandon, and talk business.
Yeah.
Business back and forth.
Yeah. I think that's class. I don't know if you're paying attention or if any of you guys are asleep, but this guy is definitely dropping jewels here that I'm definitely going to study these notes later. And that actually reminds me of a story. So I wouldn't say that this is my career, but I had a pretty bad injury. This is right after the CFL. I was planning on trying out for Arena Football League, so I started playing semi-pro football to prepare myself for Arena Football League, which is just like regular football, except that you're on a smaller field. The sidelines is padded, which is pretty cool because if you get hit on the sideline, you get flipped over this little padded wall. That's kind of dope. But we was in Ohio, playing a night game in Ohio, and we was marching down the field, and we was on the 30-yard line. So we were in our red zone, right? And they had me playing wide receivers. I'm wide out there, and we was still trying to march and get into the end zone. And there was something that I've seen in the defense. So I went to the sideline, told the coach, hey, you need to move me down to the slot and let me run a post corner, because the defense that they was running was a zone, and me running the post corner as a slot receiver will open that right up and we can expose them. So coach said, okay, let's do this. And my quarterback this guy had a cannon for an arm, super accurate. So I knew he could get me the ball right where I needed it to be. So went back out there, was playing slot receiver, ran my route, ran down the field. A post corner is when you run about 5 to 7 yards downfield straight, and then you do like a slant in about 34 yards, and then you cut to the end zone, right? Or cut to the corner of the end zone, sideline, what have you. And so I made that move inside, made the move outside, but half my body was going one way, the other half of the body was going another way, and the ball falls right there in front of me in the end zone. I don't catch it because I'm just in pain, and I hurt my knee, and I ended up tearing my ACL. So, of course, it would have been just awesome if I just caught the football and injured myself while catching the football in the end zone, but that's not the way God wanted it to be. So, so that was pretty much the end of my career.
I just have to point something out here, because like that story is awesome. And I sort of I know a little bit about football, but if you were telling that story to former players, you wouldn't have to describe that, you wouldn't have to do the, what a post is, right? Like when I'm talking about powder days, when I talk powder days with my people, I don't have to tell them what a powder day is. So I should be fully into it. So if you were to ever create that group of guys who used to play football, then you could tell stories like that with wild abandon. You could tell the details that only you guys get because you've been on that. You've been, you would be talking to the guys who played the defense and knew that they were making a mistake. There's just a level of love and joy and excitement you can give to a story like that when that the audience gets the story. You'll be having the people going, that's right. And if you can create a space like that, and people, and you had a community of people, then you have a level of relatedness, and then you tell a story like that, and then afterwards, you're just like, okay, now let's talk business. Like it just happens way faster because you have a shared passion. That pain. We all know that, or you guys know those moments at a level of detail that those of us that haven't played it never will get.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I could talk to you about how amazing powder days are, but until you go down and you ski and you have snow coming over your face and it's like you can't breathe because the snow's flying up, and it's so, and like you come through and you pop out, and I cannot tell you how awesome that is until you experience it.
Right. Right.
And so when you niche down and you niche to a group of people that you focus on what you love rather than what you're trying to solve, you get to have conversations like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is how you are bringing it. That's how you are making it super clear to me at this present moment right now. Oh, amazing. Amazing. You know, it reminded me of what you said a little earlier about how you was on LinkedIn and somebody had made a post with your name saying, you know, you're doing LinkedIn marketing the right way and that you are completely legit. And I have to say the same thing. This is completely legit.
Yeah. And it's just honestly, it's more and here's the part that I get to be more myself.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. And that's what we're trying. I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs start their own business is like, yes, I want the money and this, but they want a place where they can be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They want a place where you can just fully have, and I'm sure as your podcast, like you are being more of yourself as you are you're developing your podcasting muscles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why Brene Brown talks about authenticity and everybody, all that kind of stuff. But part of being authentic is being able to give yourself fully to a community of people where you can be yourself, where you can be the good, the bad, and the ugly, where you can talk about. I'm sure you have plays where you're like, yeah, the coach called a post route, but I just didn't believe in my quarterback. So you know what? I didn't run it as hard as I could, and damn it, that one time that guy threw that ball, it actually was where I needed to be, and it was perfect, but I had given up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you have stories like that you can share with, and people be like, they know those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the cool part is that you create a facility. And sorry, I get all excited talking about this.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
He's going to be like, nice guest, talks a little fast and too much. But I love this moment. So actually, a young man came into the group, said, it was the other way around. A gentleman comes into our group, a snowboarder, says he is doing learning management systems for colleges. College are putting all their courses online. He has a system that allows for that to happen. So he's selling into the college market. And I said, hey, that's really cool. There's actually a young man who is starting an app for athletic directors to help athletic directors manage basically part-time jobs around events. You know, people need to clean up the confetti and just kind of the cleaning up after a big event. He's creating an app to allow for that to happen easier. And so I said, hey, you two guys, you guys aren't exactly in the same business, but there's some similarities. So in that moment, the young guy actually gets to talk to a more experienced, more established business owner. But the business owner is a snowboarder. And it turns out the young guy is a pro snowboarder is on the US. He does the world, it's called the World Freeride Team, where they go up to the biggest mountains and they come down and they compete like how fast and how big and how scary they can do.
Yeah.
And so the older guy gets to talk to a pro snowboarder in a way that he never would have had an opportunity to do. Or maybe, but not as easy as it was facilitating a group.
Yeah.
So when you create a group around a niche and a passion, you allow people to connect in different ways. It's not just business. And so you can connect in all sorts of different ways and just have more fun doing it.
That is amazing. Okay. So I know we could go on and keep talking about this forever, but I know you somewhat have a hard stop time. So let me get down to the last few questions here.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the one thing you wish you knew before starting your business?
One thing I wish I knew: to trust myself and to really work hard at figuring out who I am and what I'm about and how I do things. Before taking courses, before taking workshops, before doing all of that stuff, figure out who you are and how to do that better. How to be, because each of us has a purpose and each of us has a way. And this is actually the fourth step in my process. So I help people figure out their purpose, their vision, their niche, and then we look at their process. Which if you and I were to talk for even just a few minutes, you're able to figure out that you usually have 5, maybe 6 or 7 steps that you intuitively walk people through to help them accomplish their goal.
Mm-hmm.
You get clear on that. That becomes your playbook for how you do things. And you do it over and over and over again.
The system.
The system. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is you want your system. You don't want someone else's system.
Mm-hmm.
All the great systems that people have sold and packaged up in classes and workshops that we've all bought, we've all been excited about, those systems fundamentally don't work for us because it's based on their purpose, not ours.
Mm-hmm.
They're good systems. They're awesome. They're great. And they're helpful for sure. But there's many people have the experience of, I go to a workshop, we take notes, we high five, everything's awesome. We take our notebook, we go out to our car, put the notebook in the back of the car, and never look at it again.
And forget completely about it.
Forget about it. And then you're like, damn, I just spent $3,000 or whatever the number is, right?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that the course owner, the person has figured out something about their purpose. They figured out something about their way of doing things. They have packaged it up. They're good at what they do, so we buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a disconnect, and the disconnect is because it's based on their purpose, not ours. So you want to figure out your purpose, your vision, your niche, and how you do things, because that's what you're going to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get clear on that.
Okay, let me ask you this: what is the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur?
Not trusting myself.
Okay.
Not believing in myself, and more importantly, not doing the work. It's not that I didn't trust myself. It's that I wasn't willing to do the work to put in the systems and the procedures in place to fulfill on what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of, it's kind of like giving up on myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's recognizing like, yeah, this is where I want to go. And it's just going to take some work. You got to do the work. You got to do what it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mindset thing based on, I didn't think I could do it, or it took too hard, or the voices that go in my head is that nobody likes me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what I do. Those things get in the way of us. And then what happened is I'm like, well, I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to go out and spend all this money on courses and programs and stuff because they know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend money, but of course I don't do those courses, so then I've lost money and I feel worse about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the biggest mistake.
I had a feeling that you would take it back there. I definitely had that feeling. Okay, let me ask you this: what is something that you want the class to know about you personally that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia? I know you spoke earlier about your pending divorce, I guess we could say. So that might have been the cat out of the bag for this question, but give us something else.
Let's see. Well, the one that I hitchhiked across Austria with the U.S. women's luge team in 1993 would be.
That sounds like an amazing story.
Great story. A buddy and I were like, we were in Austria, and we're like, and this was before many things. And we're like, let's hitchhike across the country. And we did it. And we ended up getting to one place, and we were hitchhiking back, and we got a ride with the U.S. women's luge team and talked luging for what it was, 3 or 4 hours. It was great.
That sounds like a movie. That sounds like a movie. Okay, try to bring this to a close. What is the one takeaway that you want the class to leave with this lesson?
Yeah, focus on your niche. You don't need that big a niche, but to really understand, niching is a mindset. So you need to know your purpose. You need to know your vision. Then you look at your niche. Then you look at how you serve the people that you serve, and then how you can share it and sell it. Those 5 steps: know your purpose, know your vision, know your niche, know your process, and how to share it and sell it. That is, to me, makes a huge difference.
Man, I have to say that I want you to come back on this show, to come back into this class, and come back to the School of Hard Knocks to teach another lesson. Whenever you have opportunity to do so, you have an open invitation, my brother. With that being said, I want you to go ahead and just tell the people where they can find you, what you got going on, if they can find you, or what ski resort can they find you at?
Well, I am, unfortunately with COVID, I'm a Lake Tahoe guy, so I'm usually at Kirkwood or Squaw Valley, but with COVID, it's tough. And I just have to say this, we laughed a lot about right now, but there's some people going through some really tough times. Just in many, many industries, the ski industry is getting hurt really hard. And I feel mostly for the employees. The young kids up there, they're just trying to, they just want to go skiing and snowboard. They just want to do something fun. And I'm sure you have friends who are like just trying to play football, but things are just all over the place. So I want to, give as much love and support as I can to people that are just trying to make that work. Everybody can find me. joeychandler.net is my website. On LinkedIn, Joey Chandler 70, and same thing on Facebook. So, please connect. If you are a skier or snowboarder and you want to be part of our group, let me know, and we'll get you in there for sure.
Man, like I said before, I knew you was gonna come through and have a powerful lesson. Exactly how powerful did I think it was going to be? I had no clue, but you've definitely surpassed my expectations on the power of niching. And I'm so glad that you came onto the show, brother. I appreciate you, Guest Professor Joey Chandler, for coming onto the show and being vulnerable with us and sharing with us your expertise and just some of the Genesis moments that you've had when it comes to niching and things of that nature.
I appreciate it. This is a great time. I appreciate you going through the, being vulnerable enough to go through the purpose work, because you're probably like, I'm in charge here. I'm not supposed to be in class. So,
I have no problem being the sacrificial lamb.
Awesome work. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And have a wonderful day.
Appreciate it. And to you, class, you've heard this amazing lesson. I hope you guys took great notes. Make sure you study these notes, implement these notes, put it into practice. And beyond all of that, what I like to say at this time, with everything and in everything that you do, chase after it with violent action. This is your Chancellor, Bernard Gleaton, and Guest Professor Joey Chandler saying goodbye to you. And we will see you guys in the next one. See you guys in the hallways. About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people toward that greatness with the guest professor that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after it with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.